Republicans really need to recognize the people they represent. Okay, they're voters, not the lobbyist donors, not the corporate PACs, not those people. That's not who the Republican Party should represent. We need to be the party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian, and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists.
During the January 6th attack on the Capitol, there were Trump banners and Confederate flags, the Gadsden flags. There's also Christian imagery, the wooden cross, people in prayer, the Jesus Saves slogan. Now, much of the House January 6th committee's focus so far has been on right-wing extremist groups, but there are Americans who have adopted Christian nationalism who were there as well.
An article in The Week asked the question, what is Christian nationalism and what did it have to do with the Capitol insurrection? I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about Christian nationalism lately, probably hear from me, but also from other more mainstream sources. And the reason for this is because lawmakers are talking about it openly and proudly, as if identifying as a Christian nationalist is suddenly an okay position for someone to take. And I just want to point out the irony of having heard for the last 20 years that Muslims in America want to enact Sharia law here and force everyone to adopt and comply with their religious doctrine. But it turns out that was just a whole lot of misdirection that capitalized on a single tragedy from 2001 and rode that wave into 2022. And today, instead of hearing or seeing anything remotely indicative of Sharia law posing an actual threat to America, we're hearing and seeing white members of Congress and other political figures professing to be Christian nationalists and declaring the separation of church and state to be a flawed system of government. Now, Republicans have been demonizing socialism and communism for so long that they just jumped ahead to full-on nationalism. I've talked about the difference between patriotism and nationalism before. At face value, the two words seem like they could be synonymous with one another, but nationalism takes patriotism much further, and it's not something that anyone should be proud to subscribe to, at least not in this country. You hear nationalism being spoken about in places like Scotland, for instance, but in that case, it speaks to the idea of Scottish independence from the United Kingdom. It's a separatist movement that eventually hopes to create the nation of Scotland.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
But in the US and other already independent nations, it takes the form of something more selfish and more sinister. It's America first, above, before, and at the expense of all other nations, and even within the country, the ideology is exclusionary to various groups of people. The nation is defined by the nationalist, who it represents, who it supports, etc. That definition doesn't necessarily include everyone already living within the nation's borders. In the most extreme iterations of nationalism, you see the silencing of conflicting beliefs and ideologies such as book burns and book bans, which we are already seeing here in this country.
The Anti-Defamation League called for the firing of Tucker Carlson. This is now, I don't know, the billionth call to get Tucker Carlson fired for obvious reasons. But this time it had to do with an insane and racist theory called the so-called replacement theory, also known as the white replacement theory. Fox actually defended Carlson because of course they will. And now he's emboldened to double down on the comments that he had earlier regarding this replacement theory. So let's hear what he had to say and then we'll share our thoughts.
Ordinarily, we'd ignore all of this. Once you've been denounced as a white supremacist for quoting Martin Luther King, you realize none of it's real. It's all another form of social control. Honestly, who cares what they think? But in this one case, we thought it might be worth pausing to restate the original point, both because it was true and therefore worth saying, and also because America badly needs a national conversation about it. Demographic change is the key to the Democratic Party's political ambitions. Let's say that again for emphasis because it is the secret to the entire immigration debate. Demographic change is the key to the Democratic Party's political ambitions. In order to win and maintain power, Democrats plan to change the population of the country. They're no longer trying to win you over with their program. They're obviously not trying to improve your life. They don't even really care about your vote anymore. Their goal is to make you irrelevant. That is provably true. And because it's true, it drives them absolutely crazy when you say it out loud. A hurt dog barks. They scream about how noting the obvious is immoral. You're a racist if you dare to repeat things that they themselves proudly say.
That's rich coming from a guy who identifies with a party that couldn't handle the fact that voters in various battleground states decided to vote for Biden over Trump. And then they decided to respond to that by literally making it difficult for certain voters to cast their ballots, thus disenfranchising voters that they believe are more likely to vote Democratic. That happened in Georgia. They're working on it in Texas. These are people who have engaged in the most undemocratic behavior imaginable. And for Tucker Carlson to argue that the Democratic Party is currently involved in replacing white voters is ridiculous, okay? So, look, Waz, you jump in. I have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, no. The reason why Tucker Carlson's little theory that he thinks he's unlocking on the world is so stupid is because in America, all we do is invent new white people. So this idea that white people or whiteness can be replaced is stupid because you have to ignore the fact that when the Irish came here, they were not white. We made them white. When the Italians came here, they were not white. We made them white. Why does Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio get to be white now? We made Cubans white. We'll just make more white people. Like this idea that we're erasing whiteness, and that's the Democratic Party's strategy to get rid of the Republicans and just white people in general is ridiculous. We will just invent new white people. We will find them because we always do in this country. I love this idea that whiteness is so narrowly defined that there's this finite amount of them that we're just gonna run out of a supply of them because the Dems are letting people come here from Honduras. It's ridiculous. We're gonna make other people white. And that's how we're gonna keep this whole charade going of, the freaking imaginary races that we've invented for ourselves. Because again, none of these people were white when they got here. We used to call Italian people ethnic whites, now they're just white. Same thing with Jewish people. We're just going to invent more of them. This little fake quandary that Tucker Carlson has invented in his mind is laughable and is stupid because it ignores American history.
Not only that, I mean, he's telling on himself, and so are other people who spout this conspiracy theory, because in their minds, no, like why would we reconsider what our platform is or what we're offering voters? Why would we do any of that? We serve white voters, and we're not going to expand on, trying to represent the best interests of people of color, of anyone that we don't consider white. Like that's basically what he's saying here, right? It's an admission that the Republican Party does not care about any other group, that has no interest in representing any other group, and that's really what the takeaway should be. The other takeaway, though, is that for anyone who falls for the nonsense coming from Tucker Carlson about, the plight of the working man in America. We gotta look out for these blue collar work. Tucker Carlson's solution is not Medicare for all. It's not increasing the federal minimum wage. It's not wealth redistribution. Tucker Carlson's response or answer to all of those societal ills is, let's purge this country as much as we possibly can of immigrants, people of color, people who don't identify with us. Okay, so anyone who thinks like, no, it's totally fine. I'm gonna go on Tucker Carlson's show and we're gonna have a friendly conversation because we agree, we can work together. We can work together and actually do something about income and wealth inequality in this country. You're stupid. People who think that are stupid. Okay, because you have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and look at what Tucker Carlson is offering as solutions. And this is the garbage he offers.